to another week of Healthy Cook Up with Dr. Soski. I have a special guest today, Beth Kandell from Bountiful Bone Broth. Just to do a quick introduction of myself, I'm a naturopathic doctor here in Oregon and also in California. And I'm doing these cooking shows to share some healthy cooking tips with y'all. Beth owns a awesome bone broth company, she's a bone broth guru, which is why we invited her here today to share her wisdom, and she also has an awesome spice kit to share with you that I'll let her get into. And then just wanted to let you know that today we're dedicating this video to St. Jude's Children's Hospital, who does a lot of work in the cancer research for children. So if you would like to and have it in your heart to donate today, you can hit the donate button at the bottom of the video. As always, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the chat box or into the comment section, and we'll answer our questions as we go. So, Beth, I would love if you have any more to introduce yourself and tell us more about your company.
Sure, absolutely. So I moved to the Gorge about 6 years ago, and I started Beth's Bountiful Bone Broth about 4 years ago. And at the time, I did it for my local community because there were a lot of young people that were having gut issues and autoimmune problems and such. So I was looking for a way to help heal people. And it's so nourishing to drink bone broth, and it's so healthful in respect that it does wonders for the gut and a variety of other healthy things it does for you and people with autoimmune or cancer. So anyway, so I thought it was a great thing to do. And I've been doing that for about 4 years, doing pre-made broth for the community. And then I expanded to various grocery stores and naturopathic types of, acupuncturists and such that wanted to help their clientele. So I did that for 4 years. And then when COVID hit recently and everybody was locked down, I thought it would be great to come up with a plan for people to be able to make their bone broth at home, because finances were a problem. People were not being able to get out. They were dealing with getting sick and needing to boost their immune system. So I came up with the idea to take the wonderful, yummy stuff that I make with my bone broth and actually create a do-it-yourself dehydrated version, which is called Beth's Bountiful Bone Broth Spice Kit. There you go. Oh, you got one too. And the beauty of my broth was that it just tastes so good. I put a lot of yummy ingredients in here, and I was able to go to the grocery stores and let everybody taste the broth when that was allowed, which helped, move the product really nicely. But then, of course, I couldn't do that anymore because of COVID. So anyway, so I came up with the kit, and I wanted to show you. It makes it really, really easy for you to make delicious bone broth, because you don't have to worry about, do I have carrots? Do I have onions? Do I have enough of this or that? And what if it doesn't taste good? Let me ask you a question, Marisa.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know how much nutritional value is lost in dehydrated vegetables from regular vegetables?
I don't know off the top of my head. It seems like something I should know, but I don't. I don't use a lot of dehydrated stuff, so.
Well, you're in luck because I know.
Good.
It just so happens. These are the yummy vegetables. Dehydrated vegetables are actually, they're dried at a very low temperature for a very long period of time. And the vegetables that they use, if it's a good company, and of course I use a great company out of Portland, they actually dehydrate the vegetables at their peak of freshness. So you are really getting 97% of the nutrients of that vegetable, actually a greater percentage of nutritional value than you would in a regular vegetable that you'd get at the store, because it's traveled via truck. It's sat there waiting for you to pick it up and buy it. So this is actually a healthier way to have bone broth, interestingly enough. So in addition to, I don't know if you can see, but there's like really beautiful carrots and celery in here and onions and garlic. But what I add is black garlic, and these are the three things that really make the flavor pop: black garlic, turmeric, and shiitake mushroom. Marisa, do you happen to know the benefits of garlic and black garlic I know probably you know turmeric and mushrooms and such. Just curious.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know black garlic versus regular garlic. I know that garlic's super anti-inflammatory. It's antimicrobial. It's got a lot of immune boosting power. Same with mushrooms, super immune boosters. Turmeric, super anti-inflammatory.
Right.
But I would love to know if there's any difference between regular garlic and black garlic.
Well, the black garlic actually is twice as effective as regular garlic, because it is aged for at least 2 weeks in moist conditions at a very low temperature. And it actually changes the profile of the garlic, and it takes that pungence away from it, and it makes it dark and sweet on top of it. So not only is it twice as effective in immune boosting and antioxidants, but it's tastier. You could actually eat it plain, eat it raw.
Yeah,
And
I've had it one time. Some Airbnb guests left some from gave us some from Japan. Actually, it was a
it,
unique experience. I'd never had that before.
it's delicious, and it's delicious to cook with as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so there's a lot of great health benefits in here. So I'm going to pour this entire packet in my Instapot. Now you can use an Instapot, or you can just use a stock pot on the stove.
Great. Yeah, I'm using a stock pot
You're
today.
going to
So
use a stock pot. Now,
yeah.
your opinion, I'm sure you know, with bone broth, how long should you cook on the stove top for your bone
Oh,
broth for it to get all the benefits?
I mean, I would say a minimum of 8 hours, but you could go as much as 48 hours.
Right, exactly. Exactly. I like to recommend at least 24 hours to 48 hours. Um, but one of the key parts of making a delicious bone broth, in addition to using really great, vegetables, is making sure that you roast your bones first. A lot of people, like when I was doing tastings at the grocery store, they were going, "Oh my God, I never get it right. It always tastes, it looks watery, it looks light yellow, it doesn't taste good." And I said, "Do you roast your bones?" And they said, "Well, no." I said, "Okay, well, there's your first trick." So these are turkey bones, but I roast all of them. I roast chicken bones, I roast marrow bones, and then that imparts a really nice brown, rich flavor to the broth. So that's a really key point. So I'm going to put these turkey bones in there. Now, perfect for Thanksgiving. If you guys have your leftover carcasses, it can go right in the pot.
Yeah,
So
I wanna highlight uplift what you said again. This is a really great use for the turkey carcass when you're after Thanksgiving. You're like, I don't know what to do with it, and you just throw it out. This is a really great use to upcycle your carcass. To get even more benefit from your turkey and really use the whole bird.
absolutely. Now, another question for you, out of curiosity. Um, I know marrow bones in particular have a lot of amino acids and minerals, much more
Yeah,
so than poultry, but they do because it's a very dense bone.
yeah,
Glucosamine, chondroitin, hyaluronic acid, proline, glycine, all that. And I know that poultry bones also have some of those minerals and amino acids, right?
yeah. Yeah. So poultry does definitely, but yeah, like you said, the beef, venison, those they have a higher content. Just because I also think that there's more marrow to them, and you're usually using like a thicker bone that has more bone marrow in it, and so you're
Yes,
getting that from it. And then also too, all of those things are higher in grass-fed animals, which I think is
correct.
really important, especially if you're trying to get high quality nutrition from your food to use grass-fed animals.
And along with that goes that conjugated linoleic acid, right? That CLA,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
much more prevalent in the grass-fed animals.
Yeah.
And that's what CLA is like a
So it's
naturally occurring amino acid, right?
no, it's an omega-6 fatty acid.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so omega-6 fatty acid, anti-inflammatory, really good for the immune system. Um, has anti-cancer potential too, and is actually used a lot in weight loss. Um,
Interesting.
yeah,
Very interesting. So for people who are dealing with autoimmune and cancer types of issues, they might lean toward the bone marrow broth, maybe more so because of those elements.
yeah. I mean, I'm kind of like a whole foods philosophy person, so I still think like use all of it, use whatever, because there's still going to be great benefits from all the other, different pieces
Gotcha.
as well. So like, the bone itself is higher in vitamins and minerals, where the marrow is higher in fat and protein. So
Yes.
you're kind of getting, like, when you're using both, all of it, you're getting the best of all the worlds.
Great. So it doesn't, so you, that's great. You're the doc, you know.
Real quick, I have a couple more thoughts on CLA, but I also just wanted to tell people. So I personally don't eat meat, so I usually only cook stuff on these shows that I consume personally. But I wanted everyone to see how to make this with meat bones. But I'm actually using fish bones from halibut, which you can also do. It doesn't have quite the same profile because there's not as much marrow, and so it's definitely a different nutrient and mineral and protein versus fatty acid ratio than beef or chicken or anything like that. But it's still tasty and it's still really good for you. So that's what I'm going to use today. So just wanted to
So
say that.
the fish is really good for your eyes, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you're getting like, I think you're actually getting more omega-3s when you use fish versus omega-6. So it's still really beneficial things, just like different ratios. And then, yeah, you're not getting that marrow, so you're not getting that high CLA content.
Right.
But you're getting, which is an omega-6, but you're getting more omega-3s. And then there's not as much like bone piece to it, so you're not getting as many of not as much of some of the other nutrients. So like the glucosamine, chondroitin, there's not as much of it just because there's physically less bone.
Right.
But still very tasty.
Clearly has its own benefits, definitely.
Yeah.
You know what else I like to add to my poultry broth is I add chicken feet. Sorry, guys, for those of you who can't picture or stomach chicken feet, I apologize ahead of time. But I have to tell you, the chicken feet, when they cook down, have a tremendous amount of gelatin in them and collagen. So, and our bodies are made up of collagen. So my whole idea of making broth starting 4 years ago was not only to make it tasty, was really to make it as healing and healthy as possible. So that's why I put the chicken feet in there. And to be honest with you, everybody, that's it. Just the roasted bones, the spice packet, and water. Oh, you know what? There's one other thing I forgot. So does anybody know, I don't know, Marisa, are you familiar? Maybe not. The difference between bone broth and stock?
Is it the vinegar?
Yep.
I'm only guessing because I know that's the one thing that's missing.
Bingo. Good job, Marisa. I almost forgot it. 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, or you could use vermouth or any kind of a accelerant, because what you're trying to do is have it while the pot is heating up, is you want the vinegar or whatever you're using to extract the minerals from the bones. So that is one of the differences between bone broth and stock. The other difference is stock, you don't have to cook as long as bone broth. So when I make it in the Instapot bone broth, I make it for 7 hours, which is the equivalent of about 24 hours on a stovetop. But if I was making broth, all I'd have to do is really cook it for 2 or 3 hours and it would be fine. So that's it. So I'm going to put the lid on the Instapot and we're going to turn it on for 7 hours and then it will be done. And this turkey broth we're going to use for our turkey stew. But I already have some extra bone broth to use for the stew. So I'm going to put this over here, plug it in.
And then I'll just make a safety note about doing it on the stovetop version. I would not recommend keeping the stove on while you're sleeping. So if you want to run it for 24 hours, you might have it, run it longer during the day. Turn it off when you go to sleep, turn it on when you wake up the next day. I just think it's a little bit safer and then you don't have to worry about fire risk.
That's a good idea.
Which is why doing it in an Instant Pot or a crock pot is just easier because that you can turn on, walk away, and you don't have to think about it, and it's quicker.
And I will add one other point to that, and that's a very good point, Marisa. But when you use an Instapot, it imparts a much richer flavor to the broth. because you've got all that pressure going on while it's cooking. So it's going to be a more robust broth than it would be on the stovetop because you've got the steam releasing when you're on the stovetop, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, totally.
Okay, so I guess we're ready to start putting together the soup. You want to do it together?
Yeah, I'm gonna be making a slightly different one just because I'm using fish and so I'm just gonna chop my own veggies as you go and talk about what you're doing and then.
Okay, sounds good. I'm going to get my pot here. So this is a turkey stew, and it's got a lot of different layers of flavor. It's got the vegetables, it's got the mushrooms, and also I put bacon and pancetta in there. So that adds a nice, salty element to it. And then I have a few tricks that I use with most of my soups that I'll show you as I go along that really punch the flavor of any soup that I make. And it's my little secret. You get to learn a little secret today.
Awesome.
So everybody likes secrets. So we're going to start first. Let me grab my olive oil. Oh, here it is. I like cooking with garlic olive oil because I actually have some gut issues, some digestive issues myself, which is another reason I started making bone broth. So garlic and a lot of garlic and onion are not necessarily my friend at times. So I get the flavor of garlic when I use olive oil that's infused with garlic, which is great.
That's a really good idea to get that flavor without getting the actual garlic in it.
Say again?
Oh, that's a really great idea for folks who are kind of sensitive to the sulfury things to have the infused oil instead of using
exactly. For people who are on a FODMAP diet, this is ideal. That is ideal for them, which is what I have to do at times. It's the luck of getting older.
Yes.
just stop at 40. Just don't go past 40 if you have a choice.
Do my best.
All right, so we're heating up the oil. So what we're going to do first is we're going to cook the pancetta and the bacon. I added bacon because I didn't pick up enough pancetta at the market. And we're just going to brown it and then put it in a bowl and then take it out. And we're going to do that first. So the place is going to smell really delicious. My husband, who I have difficulty with eating certain things, like the idea of just plain bone broth to him is not appealing. And I have to convince him that there's fun stuff in if I make a soup that he'll eat it, one of which is bacon. If there's bacon in anything, he'll eat it.
Yeah.
So you're not putting bacon in yours?
I am not putting bacon in mine, no.
So what are you putting in to give it flavor?
So I'm kind of going to I decided, I also had I'm going to be traveling in a little bit. We're moving away from this current location I'm at in Spokane. So I wanted to use up what's in my fridge in terms of veggies. So kind of what I have ended up being like a Thai-inspired fish soup. So for flavor, I'm going to do some Thai hot chili oil.
Oh, nice.
This is Thai and True, which is a local Portland company. Some lime, some basil, fennel, and then the other veggies I had were shallot, kale, carrot, and a green pepper, and then garlic.
Very nice.
Yeah, so it's a little bit. I decided to go with cleaning out the fridge instead of going with the recipe.
No, that's fine. That's fine. It's a very healthy version of this soup. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, and since I don't do the bacon, but I think mushrooms really add that nice umami kind of like savory flavor. Not that it replaces meat, in flavor, but it's kind of a nice. Although that has mushrooms also, but in
Yeah,
general.
I have cremini, but then I again did not pick up enough. So I happen to have had a friend who brought over some beautiful what do you call it? The chanterelles
Oh yeah.
from their property. So
Oh
I
awesome.
had removed the moisture and frozen them. So I had a bunch of chanterelles in the freezer. So I'm gonna add those
Oh,
with the
that's gonna be
cremini. So
delicious.
that'll add a really nice flavor as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually, I think it's chanterelle wild crafting season if I'm not mistaken right now too. So,
Yeah. Okay. So we're not
um,
quite. I'm gonna make this a little higher.
oh yeah. So while those are browning, I just wanted to say one last thing about the CLA, the conjugated linoleic acid. This is more just like a PSA.
Uh-huh.
Is that it also, so since it's good for weight loss, they do sell it in supplement form. But the supplement form is usually a synthetic form versus a
Whole
naturally
food.
derived, yeah, whole food, yeah. And the
Yeah.
synthetic form is not as good for you. It doesn't. This is the same as synthetic forms of just about anything. Is they try to make it mimic, things. And for some things that it works out just fine. Thyroid hormone is kind of one of them. But for other things, it doesn't really quite capture it, and it's a lot easier to overdose on the synthetic version in a supplement form than than it is in a whole food form. So you really can't overeat CLA. It would take a lot. I mean, anything is possible. I will say that. I won't say you can't, but it's a
Interesting.
lot harder.
Very
Versus in the
interesting.
supplement, it's really easy. So, and the health profile of the synthetic is not nearly as good as the whole food form. So,
You know, you can take that to the next level with pretty much anything. When I was doing tastings, I'd say to people, you know, of course, all of the minerals and nutrients that you're extracting from the bones that are going into the bone broth, the chondroitin, glucosamine, and all that, and that drinking bone broth in its whole form, whole food form, is a much better way to get those minerals and amino acids than it is from the supplement version,
yeah,
as you just said with the CLA.
yeah. I mean, and also too. So, like one of the beauties of bone broth is that it has a really high glutamine content, or
Yep.
yeah, glutamine content, and that's really healing to the digestive lining. And so, not only are you like when you heal your digestive lining, you then can absorb your nutrients even better. And so, it's like a double awesome whammy with bone broth, where you're healing your gut and you have so many nutrients that you can then better absorb because you're having it in that form. So.
You know, Marissa, it's very true. And I can't tell you how many people that I got to know from doing the tastings who said to me, Beth, I just feel so much better. I drink your broth on a regular basis. And you know, really made my tummy feel so much better. And I've just noticed such a big difference, which makes it really exciting to have that spice kit, because
Mm-hmm.
my bone broth in general is very expensive. And the
Yep.
spice
Yep.
kit's only $11.99. And if you make a big pot of this, you can get 5, 6 quarts of broth for
Yeah.
$12. You know,
Yeah.
it's for people who have, you know, who have digestive issues, autoimmune issues. This is something that they should be drinking on a regular basis, not just, you know, every now and again.
Yeah.
And nothing's wrong with drinking it in soup form. You know, as I said, a lot of people just can't wrap their brain around, oh my God, I'm drinking, there should be stuff in this. I shouldn't just be drinking broth.
Yeah. No, but I understand that. I understand that sentiment. I'm not one of those people. I'm one of those people that, I mean, I could drink broth all day.
Yeah, well,
especially
yeah,
especially in
I'm the
winter.
same way.
Yeah.
I'm the
It's
same
like a
way, but
savory cup of tea.
yeah, I love it. No, I'm with you there. I am totally with you. But not everybody's like us,
No, that's true.
you know. So this is okay. So this is browning up nicely. Taking a few minutes. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. And what I did ahead of time, just to let you know this recipe, I cooked the rice ahead of time. It called for wild rice. I used basmati brown rice because that's all I had. Um, And I didn't cook it the full time. I only cooked it for like 10 minutes because I figured, oh, you don't want to overcook rice if you can
Yeah.
help it because it gets mushy. So I kind of like to put the rice in at the end, and then I end up freezing a lot of my soup so I have it when I want it. So I'm going to take this bacon out of here.
That's a really, really good point. And that's, yeah, most of my meals, I do the same thing where I make really big batches and either freeze it or have it for the rest of the week.
Exactly.
And I say, especially with bone broth, especially with my cancer patients, I say, because energy is often an issue, that when they have the energy, make a really big batch and put it away, or have a friend to make a really big batch for you.
Exactly. Now, one other part of that for the cancer patients that we didn't touch on yet, which I'm sure you can talk to, is how a lot of the treatments that they go through affect their eating, and
Yeah.
bone broth will stimulate their eating. Can you maybe talk to that a little bit?
Yeah. So it improves, because a lot of times you have this lack of appetite from this inflammation in your GI tract. It's like your body kind of, it's a feedback mechanism of your body saying like, hey, I can't really process this food right now. Let's not eat. And when you're able to heal that, and a lot of chemotherapy and radiation treatments really damage your digestive tract. And so when you're able to heal that, your body is way more receptive to food. And also, when you're drinking it, you're getting all the benefits of very digestible nutrients, protein, fats, vitamins and minerals.
Right. It's going right
So
into
yeah,
your system.
yeah,
Going
it's
right
really,
there,
really
right
great.
away. It doesn't have to go through
Yeah.
the digestive tract and be broken down, right?
Yeah. And also, too, for some people, even if they don't have an appetite, even just having some bone broth as, nutrition, if that's all they can get down, um, is really good because at least they're getting some nutrition. And sometimes drinking something is a lot easier on the system and, sounds more enticing to them than chewing and eating something.
Now, talking on that point, because I've had, by the way, I just put the mushrooms in here. They're cooking in the bacon fat, just FYI. Um, talking to that point, again, a number of cancer patients reached out to me when I was doing my tastings and when I was selling my pre-made broth, and a lot of them are better off, said they were better off with the chicken broth than they were with the beef broth because it was easier on their digestion.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I've noticed with talking with people, that it's easier on their tummies, the chicken is, because the beef is a little bit more of a robust flavor. So I'm not going to cook these mushrooms down too much because I like, there's so much water in mushrooms that if you cook it too long, they get really small, and then I think you just kind of lose the flavor of the mushroom. So I'm going to just take them out a little prematurely because, again, when we cook everything together, they're going to cook again. So I don't want to cook I'm going to use a nice word, the bejeezies out of them. I'm going to keep them a little plump. Okay. All right. So mushrooms come out. Now what goes in next? This is exciting. Okay. So now add butter, carrots, and celery. Okay. So I've cut up most of my carrots and celery, but I didn't cut it all. So I'm just going to move this off the flame for a little bit. And I'm just going to cut up. Can people see me here? Okay. Just going to cut up my last two carrots. I don't like to make the pieces too small. I'm going to cut these in half like this. And I'm going to make my chunks relatively large.
This is just reminding me of why, you know, soups like these are reminding me of why chicken soup is really good for, you know, they say chicken soup for the soul or chicken soup to cure a cold, but it's, you know, sounds like an old wives' tale, but it's so true. You know, when you have all these vitamins and minerals from bone broth, and then you compound it with all the vitamins and minerals and vegetables,
Yep.
it's just so immune boosting.
It is. It really is. And I never understood why my mom, you know, she just knew she was making stock and freezing it, and I couldn't understand why. And she just said, well, that's what my mom did. So we're talking grandmas, you know, right?
Oh, yeah.
This is what they did back in the old days. They made stock from the bones. They knew what we now know. And it just makes such a difference between having a soup that's nutritious, or more nutritious, I should say, than not. Okay, so I've done. See, I'm glad I cut up most of the vegetables ahead of time. Okay, so now I'm going to put I'm going to raise this up a little bit higher. Put the carrots and the celery in. Okay, raise my flame up a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit more garlic oil in here, just a tad. Okay, and I'm going to get these these carrots and celery cooked down. All right, and in the meantime, I have some shallots here somewhere. Oh, there they are. Shallots are going in there as well. Half a cup of shallots, but I'm doubling the recipe, so I'm going to put a cup of shallots in. Okay. How are you doing over there, Marisa?
Oh, I'm doing great. Feeling some tiny pieces of garlic right now. It's always a surprise when you open it up and there's the tiniest little pieces in the center.
Yep. I think that shallots really, aren't shallots a combination of onion and garlic?
Yeah, something like that. They're in that allium family. Although
Yeah.
we got some monster shallots the other day that were the size of regular onion. They were huge.
Yeah, this one was not small. Yeah, it's interesting.
I guess it's
I
a
hear
good
you.
year for shallots in the Pacific Northwest.
I have to tell you, everything grows big here.
Yeah.
I had such a brown thumb when I lived in California. I moved here and everybody's got gardens and it's okay, let me give it a shot. And I mean, I did virtually nothing. I mean, we fertilized and we put the manure in and all that. But I mean, these big honking vegetables, I'm like, wow, because it's so green and wet here, you know?
Yeah. I know I love it that like most, you know, kind of throughout this, you know, in the summer you have to, but for like the beginning part of the growing season, you don't have to water at all.
No, it's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So carrots and celery, we got that going on now. I'm gonna grab this little piece of mushroom that's in here. Let's get that baby out of there. Okay. All right, so that's going. So next, after the carrots and celery, okay, so we're supposed to, well, it says I'm supposed to cover this puppy. Let's just cover that, let it get soft. So you still cutting and doing?
Yeah, I'm still peeling garlic.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm almost done. The garlic's the last piece, and then I'm going to start sauteing these veggies up.
Okay.
I really like the method of sauteing veggies before you throw the broth or the stock in. I like that method.
You know, it's an overlooked part of making soup, you know, is sauteing the vegetables first, I think. And that's one of the tricks that I was going to go over is when you saute the vegetables, it's a really good time to put in all of your spices and also some acid, as you do with your lemon, to
Yeah.
deglaze and to really make the flavors pop. So the combination of the sautéing and the herbs, like with today with the stew, we're actually going to put in some gluten-free flour as well. So I'll put in, actually I'm putting in extra herbs. I'm going to add, here's my little trick. I'm going to let you know ahead of time. I add anchovy paste.
Oh, wow. Yum.
And fish sauce.
Yum.
And both of those are great for flavor and seasoning without having to use salt.
Yeah.
Because you get the saltiness from the anchovy and the fish sauce. So when I add the herbs, in this case we have the recipe calls for rosemary. I'm adding rosemary and cumin and coriander, because cumin and coriander are also my go-tos to make soups really earthy. And when I use the coriander, I actually use coriander seeds that I smash, because the flavor, the aroma that comes out of a newly smashed seed is much more strong than an actual, just the powder of the coriander.
Yeah, more fresh.
So that's another trick.
I like that. Yeah, coriander is one I just, for whatever reason, no specific reason, that I don't use as much. But
I'm sorry. Say again?
Oh, coriander just isn't one that for no specific reason, isn't a spice or an herb that I use all that often, but I should get more into that.
Yeah, it's just, everybody's got their go-tos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's paprika. I put paprika in almost everything.
Yeah, well, paprika is really good for accelerating the digestive tract too.
Yeah. Good vitamin C also. Lots of vitamin C in paprika.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, I use paprika. I love paprika. I like smoked paprika.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to get these puppies soft. So is anybody watching us?
Yes, we do have viewers.
Or is it just you and I?
Yeah. Either way.
Oh, I see 6 people. That could be more.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
I think that's an accurate. In the past, that hasn't been an accurate.
It's
reflection.
funny.
So, all right, I'm gonna start cooking some of this stuff.
Okay. All right, so they say to cook the carrots and the celery for about 5 minutes. Okay, I think that's been about 5 minutes. So now we're going to throw in the shallots. Here's shallots, about a cup of them. Yum. All right, my flame's on medium. Stir that up. Love that. When I was cleaning my vegetables, I was in the Vancouver area yesterday, and I got my vegetables at New Seasons. Mm-hmm. And I normally shop at other places. I'll go to New Seasons on a somewhat, every now and again kind of basis, because they're not the cheapest. But I have to tell you, the vegetables that I bought there, I barely had to clean. They were pristine. I mean, the mushrooms had no dirt on them. Wow. I'm like washing and I'm going, there's no dirt on here. That's why I pay the big bucks. Now I get it.
Yeah. You paid someone else to wash them.
Yeah, exactly. You're paying somebody else. That's right. But they're delicious looking. They really are. I love it. Okay, so we got that going. Let's see what's next. Until soft, about 2 minutes. Okay, so this has to cook for 2 minutes. So then what we do is we put in the, okay. So now I'm going to deviate from the recipe a little bit, because it says to just sprinkle the flour on and then put the mushrooms in and then put the spices in. So I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to measure out my flour, but I'm going to put my flour and all my spices in together. And I'm actually going to add some white wine, because that's going to deglaze the spices and the flour.
That sounds really good.
And that's also not on the recipe. So let's see here. Let's make sure this is cooked a little bit. My shallots are looking very nice. A couple minutes. Okay. So I'm going to add in my rosemary, my coriander, my cumin. I'm just going to eyeball this cumin. Okay. You can always add more, so you don't want to add too much at the beginning. And then the flour. Now the flour, this calls for 1/3 cup. When you're doubling a recipe, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to double everything. The flour is being used as a binder, not a binder. It's to make a roux kind of. So you don't have to double the flour. You can double the other stuff like the spices and stuff for flavor. But this just calls for 1/3 cup of flour, and I'm using gluten-free flour. So first, this is a 1/2 cup, so I'm not going to fill it all the way. There we go, 1/3 cup. I'm going to sprinkle that in. Now I'm going to stir everything up together, and it looks really kind of floury. Okay. You don't wait real long before you put the wine in. So I'm going to put a cup of wine in. This is a Sauvignon Blanc.
Do you have a specific wine you like cooking with?
What, hun?
Do you have a specific wine you like cooking with over others? Or is it whatever you have around?
Just pretty much what they say a good dry wine, but and Sauvignon Blanc is generally a dry wine, so that's a good one to use. Riesling, kind of sweet. I try not to use a Riesling. A Chardonnay would work, a Sauvignon Blanc, So now I've got a roux. Okay. Everybody knows what a roux is, right? Roux is it's the beginning to make a sauce. It's like the flour and the liquid makes like a paste. And then you add liquid to it, and it'll make it kind of thick. So I'm going to add my anchovy paste now. I'm going to squeeze a bunch of anchovy paste because you need to salt this puppy down. And then I'm going to shake some fish sauce in here. Again, you can always add more. I like things seasoned well. Can't tell you how many times I go to a restaurant and I order a dish and I'm like, where's the seasoning? Where's the spice? All right. Okay, so now I got all that. I got this roux going on, this flour, sticky, vegetable-y thing in there. So I'm going to add, I'm going to put the mushrooms back in. And I'm going to add the stock. So here's the mushrooms. That's going back in. And here is my turkey stock. I stole from my own inventory. Turkey stock. And I'm putting in, I'm putting in 5 24-ounce bags. But if you made the turkey stock yourself, one pot, you could use your turkey stock from your Instapot that you just made, and you'd be good to go. Okay, make your stock today and then make your soup tomorrow. Okay, I got that. And then we have 2 more. Now okay, it's a little slippery from the oil from the broth. So I'm just going to cut a little bit more of this off and pour this in. Okay. Messy, messy, messy. Okay, there we go. A little sloppy, but that's okay.
All good.
All right. Okay, so we've got the broth in. Dry this up a little bit. Get all this stuff out of here. Okay. All right. I don't like cleaning in it on a dirty space here. Okay. So that went in. And okay, reduce heat to medium low, partially cover, simmer 15 minutes. Okay. All right, so we have to let this cook for a while. So medium low, partially cover and simmer for 15. Okay, so we've got 15 minutes here for this to simmer. I'm not going to cover it all the way, but I turned up the heat so it will boil, and then I'll reduce it to a simmer, because what's going to happen next is we're going to put the turkey in, and did I already put the pancetta in? Maybe I did. Who knows?
Huh? Did you put it in with the mushrooms?
It's quite possible, but you know something? That's going to be fine.
It's going to be delicious.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, so the reason that we're going to get this hot and kind of simmering a little bit, because we're going to put turkey meat in, and the turkey meat's got to start cooking as soon as it hits that pot. So I'll put the turkey meat in, and then and the rice. And the rice has been partially cooked, so that will continue to cook in there as well. So that's good.
And then are you using raw turkey meat to do that?
I am using raw turkey meat. Now, with regard to turkey meat, and again, this is one of my, I used to, before I was in the bone broth business here in the Pacific Northwest, and I lived in California, I used to sell very high-end meats and seafoods. I don't know if you knew that about me.
No, I didn't.
I actually went door to door in the really nice neighborhoods. I was like one of those meat guys, with the trucks. Although I was very elegant meat guy. I dressed nice, and I related to the women, and these were a lot of stay-at-home moms that really didn't know how to cook well. Anyway, so I really did. It was a great gig for me, and I loved it. But it got me very used to really good quality meat.
Yeah.
And it kind of made me a meat snob, if you will. So when I first moved here, I really didn't have access to really good quality meats. We live in the Gorge and Stevenson, and it's just not the city. I'm from LA. I was in the city. So it took me a while once I started my business, and I was able to align myself with suppliers for my business, for the bone broth business, to get my bones. That they also sold really good meats. So anyway, with regard to the turkey, circling back to turkey, again, that's one of the reasons I went to New Seasons, because I knew that they sold Diestel turkey. And Diestel is one of the high-end. That's actually where my turkey bones come from, that I make my turkey broth with, from Diestel. And that's why I went there to get the turkey. And there's light years difference. I'm talking about the boneless turkey that it looks like a big ball and it's frozen. Just the quality of the meat is just so far superior than any other boneless turkey that you'd get like at a Safeway or something. Not to be snobby, but what can I say?
This is my personal opinion. I think if you're going to be snobby about anything, food is definitely the thing to be it about.
I'm with you. I'm with you there. Now there's a time here that I was supposed to put in butter. So I see the butter, and I want to make sure that the butter. Have you ever done that where you look at a recipe and you have all the ingredients, and then in the description it doesn't say when to put it in?
Yeah.
I'm sitting here looking at this butter saying, okay, where in this ingredients do you put in the butter? There you go. Okay, that was supposed to go in a while ago. Oh well.
Oh well.
No time like the present, right?
Yeah.
Let's put some butter in that silly sucker there. Yeehaw.
I have even
Butter.
done that with recipes that I have made, I can make with my eyes closed, and then I'm like, oh, that one ingredient, I forgot about
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
Guess it's not in there.
I know. Well, it's interesting because, and that's another thing that I'm really snobby about too is my butter. I use ghee for pretty much everything, but when I want like salt in the butter, I'll go for Kerrygold,
Mm-hmm.
which is Irish butter, which is like the best. But I do add butter to a lot of my soups because it adds a creaminess to it, that you can definitely taste. I even add it to my meat soups, my grass-fed meat soups. All right, so I'm going to wipe this down a little bit while we're waiting for that to cook. Have you ever heard of these sponges? The ones that have the design on it?
No, I haven't.
And I don't know what the name of it is, but you use them, and then they've got like a microbial on there, and as you use it, the design starts fading.
Oh, that
And
kind of like tells you when it's done.
Exactly.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's like the coolest thing. Our cousins came over and they told us about it, so I love it.
Well, if we're
Anyway.
comparing sponges, I'll show you my sponge. It's called a spaghetti sponge. It's made of peach pits.
Oh, that's funny. Let me look. Let me see. Show me again. Oh, wow. That's amazing. That's so fun. So it works well?
Yeah, it works really well. And I like it because it's so airy, it doesn't get funky. Like sometimes sponges get funky when they're sitting
Yep.
there sometimes, especially if they end up sitting in any liquid. And so I like that one because it dries out a lot quicker.
Oh, that's fun. Okay, well that makes good sense. Okay. All right, I think this has been on for 5 minutes, so I'm just going to time it for about 10 minutes. So how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I decided to add a last minute ingredient, so I snuck it in there, which is I had a small delicata squash that I needed to
Oh.
use up also. So I decided, and I thought that would add a little bit of sweetness to the soup also.
So where are you going to get your protein from in this soup?
That's a really good question. So the bones that I got, the fish bones that I got, had a ton of fish. So I have a picture somewhere, but it was such a huge I got halibut, and so it was kind of just like the total rib cage of the halibut,
Okay.
and so there was so much extra fish that when I cooked it, I actually have like a huge bowl of just fish that I picked off of the bones.
Nice.
I'm gonna throw that back in.
Nice.
Really reminds me when you're talking about your mother and your grandmother making fish stock. My grandmother, I'm from Jewish heritage, and we make gefilte fish on holiday. Well, she used to make
Hey,
it holiday.
I'm Jewish.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, so my grandmother, she used to make it all the time when I guess before, but now later in life she would just make it on the holidays, and so I will challenge people that this is the best gefilte fish ever made. I've
Wow.
challenged a friend who also believed that their mother made the best gefilte fish, but
That's funny.
and so it's kind of the recipe that she got handed down to her, and then now she's handed it down to my mother, who's actually her daughter-in-law. But
Wow.
and so doing the fish bones and the smell reminded me of making gefilte fish. And my favorite part of the gefilte fish making process was because they would make fish stock to cook the actual gefilte fish in. And so it wasn't just water, it was fish stock. And then the bones afterwards were just like left in a bowl. And it was like my favorite thing as a kid to just sit there and pick the fish off the bones and just eat it straight. And so this reminded me of it so much, like the smell and the
Isn't that wonderful childhood memories?
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Because your family's right there with you when you're thinking about it,
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool. So you actually made the fish stock with the spice kit before we're on the air right now, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well,
Okay.
I made one. I'm making another one also, but I also made another one. Yeah.
Okay.
So I would have. Yeah. So this is some of my fish stock that I made from before. fish
Oh,
bones.
very nice.
Yeah, it ended up being stock instead of bone broth, just timing wise, because it was actually really hard to find fish bones out in Spokane. So
Well, you know something, Marissa, with when you're talking about fish bones, it probably is not that big of a deal because of the minerals. There's not as many minerals and amino acids, then you're not going to, miss that much.
yeah, and the bones are so much thinner too that it's
Exactly.
like, and kind of how I tested it was like, let me see if I actually threw the extra bones back in there. But like, so one of the tests, this is also for everybody, is like the bones will get really malleable, like almost like rubbery. And so like this is a fish bone now, and I can just,
Wow.
it got to that rubbery part, that rubbery stage. So yeah,
Interesting.
I don't think you have to cook the fish bones quite as
No,
long as
no, it's not that big of a deal.
yeah.
All right, so we're doing good here. We're starting to get foam on the top, which is a good sign. Let's see what my timing looks like. Looks like there's about 6 minutes left. Um, I'm actually going to taste this right now because we have had enough seasoning and anchovy paste and stuff in here. I'm going to taste it before I actually put the raw meat in so I have a better sense of the taste. That's delicious. Wow. Wow, I taste the butter in there and really good. I'm not going to add any more seasoning right now. I'll add it at the end, but when you taste it at this stage, you should have some flavor in it, which makes sense because we put a bunch of fish sauce in there and anchovy paste. Okay, we're boiling now, so I'm going to lower this, but I wouldn't finish salting it until the end
Yeah.
because you're still cooking meat and stuff in there, and there's no. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to bring up about cooking too. Is it's really good to add the salt in because the meat will absorb a lot of the salt, and then you won't
Correct.
taste it in the soup, and then you're just adding a higher sodium content, which
That's
isn't
smart.
necessarily.
Very, very true. So I'm going to add this turkey. So this is cut up diesel turkey. I'm adding that right now. And we're going to simmer this. Okay, we're still on a medium-high flame. And
But
now what, honey?
oh, I was just gonna say too, for anyone who's using like if you're making this kind of post Thanksgiving and you have a lot of turkey left over that you don't know what to do with, you can also just use the pre-cooked turkey and add it at the end.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Now,
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
again,
off though.
no, that's fine. Okay. Okay, so I guess I missed my third page, and I'm guessing my third page is after this is cooked, you put the cream in at the end. Now, I am a true proponent of coconut milk because just too much dairy is just not good for you. So coconut milk gives you the same effect as cream, whipping cream, or half and half with half the oh shoot, I'm supposed to put the rice in too. Staring at me right in the face. There's my partially cooked rice. Again, I used brown basmati rice. You could use white basmati rice. You could use wild rice. Okay, so that's all in there. I'm going to say probably another maybe 10 minutes to cook that. And then at the end, what we'll do is we'll put the full fat coconut in there. And season it up.
I love that idea of using coconut milk. I'm not a huge dairy fan, especially. I just think a lot of people are also dairy intolerant, and so
Yes.
they're using. So I love the idea of using coconut milk instead. That's
yeah.
great.
Yeah, I have the trifecta. I have the gut. I have the lactose sensitivity, gluten sensitivity. Yeah, pretty much everything. I'm surprised I can eat anything.
Yeah. We end up being more creative and end up eating more vegetables. That's for
exactly.
Sure.
But I will tell you that a lot of this came from my mom because I remember growing up, she had a lot of the same issues. So, but I feel badly. What?
Oh no, sorry, keep going.
No. I just feel badly because they didn't know back then what a lot of the doctors know now,
Yeah.
you know, about gluten and dairy and all that.
So I'll kind of explain what I'm doing with my soup, which is one of my secrets is, I know I told you before the video, but is adding some acid and some sweetness. And I really did get that from my partner, though, so I have to give him credit for that.
Nice.
And so usually I use maple syrup as the sweetener, but your wine got me inspired to use mirin, which is rice cooking
Rice wine. Yes.
Yeah, which is really sweet. So I'm going to actually use this kind of like as my wine and as my sweetener, and then use lime as my acid today for the soup.
Very nice. That sounds delish. Wow.
Yeah,
That would be a nice.
Oh, yeah.
No, that would be a nice combination with the fish.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of went kind of like a more Asian inspired with my thought process with like the Thai chili, and I used sesame oil, and yeah. Anyway, that was kind of where my brain went with it.
I love it. That's great. All right. Well, you know, it's funny. This turkey is cooking relatively quickly. So I'm just going to go ahead and add the full fat coconut milk. It calls for a cup, and this is a 14-ounce can. So I'm just going to add half of it and see what it looks like. As I get coconut milk all over my clean shirt. Thank you very much. All right.
I remember
Okay.
to wear an apron today.
Yeah, I know. Don't wear anything nice when you're cooking.
Yeah.
All right, so this is nice. This is very nice. I made it kind of like a milky flavor, a milky color rather. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. All right. Oh, one thing I wanted to point out about the spice blend is when you're done cooking the pot or your okay, this is done. You need to strain the broth.
Yeah.
And I've had people who try to, you know, just use it, the whole thing with the vegetables in it for a soup. And the problem with that is there's peppercorns in there. So unless you want a nice little zing every now and again of a peppercorn in your mouth, I would suggest that you strain it. Or before you make your broth, just pick out your peppercorns. But that's going to be tedious. So anyway, so you need to strain it, and then I would put it in some plastic containers or mason jars and let it cool, and then freeze it so you can have it for your soups or your, you know, what's another thing for the holidays, for Thanksgiving and Christmas, just having this bone broth or stock in your freezer. I mean, it's great for casseroles. It's not just soups. Anything you need to add moisture to, the bone broth or the stock is a great addition, because anything it touches, it'll add this dimensional flavor to it, whether it's a casserole or a soup, and it's just awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to do another taste and see if we can. I don't want to overcook it either, because I don't want the turkey to get hard.
You know, something you were saying about the spice blend earlier about just having it be easy. I had that exact moment earlier today, and I was like, oh, I'm making broth. Do I need to get celery or carrots or onion? Like, what do I have? What do I need to get? And I was like, oh, I have the spice mix.
And you know something? I went through that same thing. I actually started using my spice kit to make my broth, my actual pre-made broth, because it's just so much easier and it's so much more convenient.
Yeah.
And, you know, and people just don't know. They think, you know, that dehydrated vegetables are kind of like not that good, but the truth is they're very good.
Yeah.
And
I actually even just took some of your spice kit and made veggie broth out of it too, and that was really good.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that is huge for vegetarians. And yeah, all you have to do is cook that for like 3 hours, 2 or 3 hours, and it is delish.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to add some more. I am adding some more anchovy paste and fish sauce. Okay. I'm actually going to shut this off because I think we're pretty much done. That turkey cooks really quickly. So, you know, this doesn't have to be a turkey stew, by the way. You can substitute chicken for this. Some people, you know, are not big turkey people.
Yeah.
So, so this would make a great chicken stew as well. Chicken and rice. All right, so let me taste this. As I said, I like things flavored really nicely. Mm. Hmm. I think I need some more cumin. I'm looking for that depth of flavor. Put a little bit more cumin in. And I'm going to add a little bit more anchovy paste. Okay. Let's see what that. Okay. That
And
looks
then
delicious.
since I'm already using fish, I'm gonna use some soy sauce
No, that's a good idea.
salt
Do
mine.
you use tamari?
Yeah. Usually I use tamari. Either tamari or there's a soy sauce called namashoyu, which is a live. It's not gluten free though. So there is that, but it is a fermented
Oh, okay.
shoyu, and so
Okay.
it's kind of like a more alive product. So I kind of switch between the two of them depending on.
Yeah, I'm gluten sensitive, but in stuff like that, I'm not celiac, so it doesn't really bother me. I can, you know, it's interesting with regard to the gluten. I mean, just gluten is just not good for me in general, but I can't eat store-bought bread at all. But if you take me to like Europe, like Ireland or something like that, and serve me their bread, or take me to a really high-end bakery that uses really good quality flour, I can eat that all day long.
Yeah, I found I have a theory on that it's actually people reacting to pesticides more than anything.
You know, that makes perfect sense. It really does.
Yeah, because pesticides really mess up your microbiome.
I know.
So,
Well, and that's why, and you can even taste it with fruits and vegetables that are not organic. One of
yeah,
my, a gal came over here to clean my house, and her daughter brought over some grapes, and she was snacking on. She was a 16-year-old, 17-year-old girl snacking on grapes, and I took a couple grapes, and I immediately tasted the pesticides. Immediately.
yeah,
I don't know if I tasted the pesticides, but I tasted this film on the outside of it. There's just such a glaring difference between an organic piece of fruit and a regular piece of fruit. I
yeah,
mean, again, if you can afford it, because it's, you know,
yeah.
it's not cheap.
No, totally.
It's not cheap.
But
And
yeah,
you could,
like I think if you, this is what I do in my own life. I don't really spend money on much of anything except for food. So, but yeah, I mean it's kind of, I think you notice it more too once you've moved away from it and you like never have non-organic produce, and then you go to like you notice a difference more versus just every single
absolutely.
organic.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, I'm adding the fish back into my soup.
Okay. Well, I've got the flavor profile exactly where I want it. It's delicious. I've turned the stove off. It's wonderful. Taste the butter. I taste the rosemary. And I added a bunch of cumin for that depth of flavor. So the way I finished it off with the seasoning was I balanced between the cumin and the anchovy paste to get me the flavor that I wanted. And that's what I did. So we are, and I will post this modified version of the soup recipe on my Facebook post, on my Facebook, because there's a lot of extra things I added, you know, between the anchovy paste and the fish sauce and the cumin and the coriander, and the order that I actually did some of these things in. So
Great.
I'll put that on my.
Perfect. And when we post it on YouTube, we can include the full recipe also.
Yes, yes. I'll send it to you so you can send it to YouTube. Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, I'm going to start putting some of this stuff away.
So is your soup done?
Yep.
All right. Same here.
Yeah, I went ahead and cut up a bunch of vegetables beforehand, so I didn't spend as much time cutting on the video, on the feed.
Nice. Well, I'll just do, for anyone who's watching, I'll just do a quick recap of some of the amazing benefits of bone broth, just so that, I know we kind of talked about it sporadically, but really awesome source of vitamins and minerals, minerals including magnesium, potassium, phosphorus, boron, manganese, also really great source of iron, selenium, vitamin A, vitamin K, and then really a lot of protein in the form of collagen, which then turns to gelatin. Collagen's really good for your joints, for your skin, for your bones, for your nails, and I'm trying to think of what else. And all of that's really good for immunity and anti-inflammatory. So
you want to hear a funny? You want to hear an interesting story?
Yeah.
I have another story. So the first, you know, I drink bone broth now on a somewhat regular basis. I don't drink it as much as I did the first couple of years that I was producing it and selling it, for no apparent reason. I just got out of the habit of it, but I still drink it, you know, enough. And so I want to say it was probably my second or third year here, and I'd gone to get my teeth cleaned to see the hygienist. And I have had gum pockets in my gums for years, in LA, here. And every time they had to clean my teeth, they had to put a topical numbing agent on my gums. And I went to her and she started looking at my gums and she said, Beth, you have no more pockets. What are you doing? What are you doing? I said, I don't know. I mean, I drink bone broth on a regular basis. And sure enough, that's what it was. And if you look at Nourishing Traditions,
Yeah.
Weston Price,
Yeah.
he wrote a book on, and he is a dentist. He wrote a book on the care, the healthfulness of the mouth and the teeth and the gums, and he talks about bone broth helping with the health of the mouth. And I was just blown away. But I am a living testament to that. That was crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So there's my story.
Yeah, bone broth, man. Beautiful, awesome food.
Well, and now exactly. And now it's affordable. Now, you know,
Yeah.
with the spice kit, you can make a bunch of broth, you can have it and just use it in everything and be healthy, you know, because it's a big business and it's expensive. It's not cheap to buy.
Yeah.
But if you see the benefit of it and you want to use it, it's certainly better than using, you should excuse the expression, better than bone broth. Better than bouillon. Sorry, better than bouillon.
Better.
Those things in the jar and the
Yeah.
Nor broths and stuff and the cubes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely
that we grew up with.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So
well, thank you so much, Beth, for joining me today on this and showing us how to make your delicious bone broth and your spice packet. For anybody who's watching, please check out her website. It's linked in the bottom. It's bestbountifulbonebroth.com. And yeah, like I said, there's a link, so you don't have to remember all that. And check it out. And yeah, is there anything else you want to say in closing?
No, I think if anybody wants to reach out to me, if they have any questions about cooking or my soups or my bone broth, please do. And I just really thank you all for visiting us and watching our little tutorial.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, again, this video is in tribute to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So if you want to donate to that, feel free. The link will be up the whole time the video is up, so you're welcome to donate. And thanks very much for joining us tonight. I'll probably take a break next week for Thanksgiving, and then either be back the week after that or the week after that. So stay tuned, and I'll keep y'all posted.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.